Please welcome the Executive Director of U.S. Climate Alliance, Casey Kadams. The White House Climate Advisor, Ali Zaidi. The 27th Governor of the State of Washington, Governor Jay Inslee. The 32nd Governor of the State of New Mexico, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. And please join me in welcoming the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning. Is this on? Let's find out. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Let me start just by saying Happy Climate Week to all who celebrate. It may be Monday morning right now, but with your help, and hopefully lots of caffeine, we're going to try and bring some Friday night energy to this gathering. But before we get too deep into the fun, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Casey Kadams, and when I'm not emceeing Climate Week events or hyping up crowds in New York, I serve as Executive Director of the U.S. Climate Alliance. Most of you know us well. We did invite you here after all. But for those of you who are still getting going, or those of you who are still struggling through Mountain and Pacific time, I will take a moment to remind you. The Alliance is a mighty bipartisan coalition of 24 governors who are all securing America's net zero future through high-impact, state-led climate action. Now, those of you in New York are going to be in a lot of rooms just like this one over the coming week. It is Climate Week, after all. And you're going to hear a lot about the enormity of the crisis, about its devastating impacts on our communities, and about the political and legal headwinds that we all know we face. And those conversations are critical and timely. But today, we're going to focus on the other side of climate change, on the incredible opportunity and prosperity that is being unleashed across America because of bold solutions that are tackling the crisis. And we're here to tell you how our coalition intends to keep that momentum going. And to help us do that, we're joined by a trio of fearless climate superheroes from the Evergreen State, the Empire State, and the Land of Enchantment. These states are showing the rest of America that climate action is good for our health, good for our economy, and good for our communities. And that's a credit to this trio of governors. Fortunately, for all of us, they're not alone in this fight. They are part of an Avengers-style group of climate change-fighting superheroes that also includes 21 other governors and a special partnership with another climate superhero, the Biden-Harris administration. You can call it the Marvel Cinematic Universe of climate action, and you can decide who plays which parts. But I hope that you'll please join me in giving a really warm round of applause to 4 remarkable leaders who you'll hear from shortly. Governors Hochul, Lujan, Grisham, and Inslee, and our National Climate Advisor, Ali Zaidi. I have one last acknowledgement, and it's a bit of a teaser for our announcement. I want to give a shout out to our hosts today at the New York City Central Labor Council, the Building Trades Council of Greater New York, and the New York Metro Area Postal Union, and all of our union brothers and sisters in the labor community. It is American workers who are already building the net zero future, installing heat pumps in our homes and businesses, manufacturing batteries and clean technologies, fighting wildfires, making our infrastructure more resilient, and so much more. You are showing America what we all know to be true. Climate action means jobs. And with that in mind, it's probably about time we get to our big announcement. And so to tell you more, I'm going to welcome to the stage a governor who has joined us for 3 years running at Climate Week, the co-chair of our coalition, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning.
Sorry about that.
You okay? Well, to quote Taylor Swift, welcome to New York. Delighted to have so many of you joining us here today, and this takes me back to a major speech I gave just a few months ago at the Vatican, and I was delighted by the fact that when our Pope, and I'm Catholic, our Pope prioritizes what we have to talk about and how we have to lift up the people of this earth, that he wanted to focus on climate change. So I went to Rome and had a chance to represent this alliance there. And I was so proud to do that. And we had some of our members, Gavin Newsom and Maura Healey, Governor Newsom from California, Maura Healey from Massachusetts joined me as well. But I reflected for a long time on the words of Pope Francis and what he said. He reminded us that our moral responsibility extends beyond borders, it extends beyond politics, that we must safeguard our natural environment, but also our most vulnerable communities, the ones most endangered by climate change. I take that seriously, as do my colleagues who are here today, and I'm so proud to be joined by climate champions, someone like Jay Inslee, who has put this issue on the map and been talking about long before others saw the detrimental effects of climate change. He was whistling in the wind for a long time, but it's leaders like that that brought us to where we are today, where you have Pope Francis, national leaders, state leaders, and the rest of the country talking about climate change, not as something that's a fearful specter that could happen in the future. It is happening right now. And I want to give him a round of applause. This may be your last official Climate Week as a governor, but stay with us on these issues. My co-chair of the Alliance, Michelle Lujan Grisham, who brings that energy and that excitement, and also representing a state that sees its position as well. It's not just the larger populated states, it's every state has a responsibility to find new ways to power the technologies and the homes and the business of their states. And I want to thank her for being a great champion on behalf of all the other governors of the Alliance. Let's give a round of applause to Michelle Lujan Grisham, our governor of New Mexico. Casey, yes, thanks for bringing the bottled up energy, the excitement that this week calls for, and I want to thank you for your leadership, not just this week, but throughout every day of the year. And having Ali Zaidi once again representing the White House, which has been an amazing partner. As you know, the genesis of the U.S. Climate Alliance, and Jay knows this because he was there, he's one of the early founders, was when Donald Trump, as president, walked away from the Paris Agreement that we were all supposed to adhere to. All the countries who signed on to this were committed to achieving goals and taking their own nations collectively forward, join with others. When he basically tore that up and threw it out in the garbage, we decided as states, and those who came before me decided that more can be done together. And so it's been so refreshing for the last 3.5 years to have the Biden administration, represented by Ellie, the Biden-Harris administration, that we don't have to fight against, but we are strong allies together. So let's give a round of applause to him as well. My dream team is here representing all my agencies. I thank them for all they do. And as I mentioned, I'm going to take note of this. This is the first time we've had 2 women leading the U.S. Climate Alliance. So you want it done right, you put some women in charge, right, Michelle? That's okay. We're good. And so, no offense, we're just building on your work and taking it up. That's all. But as you know, it's half of the nation is represented. Now, my question is, where's the other half? That's for each state leader to decide, but why isn't this a 50-state coalition? I have to pose that question. But we do represent 60% of the country's economy, which is nothing small to laugh about. It is very significant. So what we do here as part of this alliance has an impact beyond our own individual state borders. And, we know what's happening. There's always been this tension now since, the Industrial Revolution, which created great industries and propelled our economy forward. But the pollution that was created to fuel that is something that I know personally as someone who grew up next to a steel plant. And I thought as a child that the sky was naturally orange because that's the color it was on the shores of one of the great freshwater lakes in the world, Lake Erie, that every night you could see molten lava being discharged into because that's how the Bethlehem Steel operated. Nobody questioned it. It was 20,000 jobs. The economy was growing. No one thought anything about what was happening there until about the late 1960s and 70s. We started seeing the health effects, and the rest is history. Finally woke up to mankind's assault on Mother Nature. It was profound. So that is steeped in me deeply as a climate advocate, a huge champion because of my own childhood. But as economies grow, in our country at least, the planet grew sicker. And as a result, we're dealing with the effects right now. And I also look at what are the effects. I've been governor 3 years. I have had more natural disasters in my state than you could combine decades before. I had 2 hurricanes my first week on the job, more than Florida had that year. I have had the deadliest blizzards. My hometown of Buffalo, 42 people dead in a blizzard. 7 feet of snow came down, record. The heaviest flooding. Just came back from Long Island a couple weeks ago surveying the effects of a 1,000-year flooding event. And that was my second 1,000-year flooding event. I don't think they're 1,000-year events anymore. We had record tornadoes. We had more tornadoes in July in New York than all of the states that are comprised of Tornado Alley combined. So something is happening. The hottest temperatures, the coldest temperatures. So you'd have to be in a coma not to recognize that there is a profound shift in what is going on here. And I have to deal with that. I mean, the costs are enormous. The communities are suffering. People lose their homes, their livelihoods. So we have to find this balance between growing our economies and the energy that's required to support that, create thousands of jobs, which is so important, but also what are the effects? And we can no longer turn a blind eye to that. And that's what we're talking about here today. Because here in New York, we're welcoming the growth of AI. We're going to have the nation's largest semicomputer dedicated to responsible AI to solve society's problems. That's what I want to use it for, to harness it for good. We have the largest semiconductor manufacturing facility being built in America. 50,000 new jobs are coming to upstate New York. That's something we're very proud of. But as we have more fab chips and all these facilities, at the same time, we want to reduce our carbon emissions to save the planet. So they seem like they're in conflict, and they are a challenge. But we're already hard at work at solving those problems. We have hydroelectric power from Canada. I just met the Canadian Prime Minister last night. We talked about our joint work on the Champlain-Hudson line, bringing power from Quebec down, hydropower, to power 20% of New York City's power needs. That's extraordinary. We made that decision my first week on the job. We need to move forward with this. So we're investing in the clean energy technologies, advanced manufacturing, building all the resiliency we can to prepare for this. And we're really, really proud of our offshore wind achievements. I literally just left a company that's looking at our state for being involved in building component parts. But this year we completed the nation's first utility-grade offshore wind farm in the country. I mean, that's significant. And that's going to power over 600,000 homes. And we're constructing more ports to accommodate this. But the point is, I want to turn these investments into jobs. That's why we're here with our friends in labor. Let me give a shout out to the people of labor, the men and women who have had to transition from traditional jobs and be acclimated to this whole new world of opportunity. Sometimes change is hard, but our relationships with labor is so strong. It's so strong and powerful. They see their role in the clean energy future, and that's what I'm embracing here today. That's what we're talking about here today. So this gives us thousands of opportunities. On behalf of, sorry, occupational hazard is you lose your voice when you give too many speeches, and it's only Monday. I'm announcing $2.3 million just from New York to support careers in offshore wind. And we have already an offshore wind training institute on Long Island. IBEW Local 3 will train more than 500 New Yorkers for careers in offshore wind. That's how we're going to continue moving this industry forward. And they'll understand how to safely operate hundreds of feet above the waves, how to build this infrastructure and power our lights and charge our phones. And also, that's just New York. Let's talk what we're doing nationally through this alliance. We are all engaged in this work. Every state is involved in this. They see the opportunities, but also the help we have from the federal government, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and the CHIPS and Science Act. Our partners in the Biden-Harris administration have unleashed this massive wave of opportunity, and we're all seizing it. We believe that these combined investments will lead to over 3 million good-paying jobs already in the climate field. 70%, this is what's important, 70% will be available to people without a college degree. This is unprecedented, this moment in time. We're not talking about some transition happening in the future, we're talking about it unfolding right now. And that's what we're so excited about, and opening the doors to underrepresented communities. And I go to these job sites all the time, and I want to see more women and people of color, and the unions recognize this. That's where they're doing their recruiting, because these industries had been previously closed off to them. But also, the skills we need. I just talked to someone now who told me if they come here, they're going to need 1,000 jobs. And I said, sure, that's not a problem. Okay, now I have to figure that out. And we will, and we will. That's how you combine ambition and objectives that are so important together, and that's what this is all about. So we're launching here the Governor's Climate Ready Workforce Initiative. Thank you, governors, for supporting this as well. And this initiative, our working together, will create over 1 million registered apprentices in climate-ready fields by the year 2035, which is right around the corner. And this is a model. We've used this model before, just like we have in construction and manufacturing. You train people in the skills, you give them hands-on experience, you point the way, you show them a path forward, and they are part of the economy that's so important, but at the same time, they're lifting up their own families and increasing their income. So we need them to build solar panels to soak up the power of the sun. I need them to help raise the wind turbines in the ocean, safeguard our shorelines build more resiliency. We need them there. So we can't do it alone. This is why a national effort, sharing best practices, working with our educational institution and community organizations will help do it. So that's what today's announcement is. We're committed to this. We believe this is the missing link, that if we are intentional, put money behind it, and work together as 24 states, there is no stopping us. And so I thank everyone for being part of this, and there's no limit to what we're going to do together, because we are the first generation to truly see the effects of climate change. We've talked about it for years. We are the ones, and we have to protect it for the young people coming behind us. We do not want them to ever question, as I did when I was growing up in Buffalo, in Lackawanna, saying, how did you let this happen? We are the ones who are saying, we will not let it happen. It stops right now. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, let's give it up one more time for Governor Hochul. So next up is her fellow co-chair of the Alliance, and she already sort of stole the thunder here, but I just want to say how proud we are for the Alliance to be led by 2 women governors for the first time in our coalition's history. Like Governor Hochul, this governor is leading by example today and announcing new action in her state to kickstart this critical work. She's also traversed the globe representing our coalition, going as far as Egypt and Dubai to deliver the message of state-led climate action to our international partners abroad. We're so grateful for her leadership, and we're so grateful to have her here today in New York. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham.
Yet again, they made a podium for Jay Inslee, but not for Michelle Lujan Grisham. It is an incredible honor to participate directly with my co-chair. And I agree, Kathy, with you universally that I do it literally, look up to Jay Inslee for his work in the climate space. And I think we can all agree that until this administration and their work on getting significant incentives and investments over the finish line, we had great ideas, but the movement of those ideas, not just to tackle climate change, but to provide the kind of resilience, that's job growth and opportunities for states, wasn't moving as fast as both we want it for our growing economies and also to tackle the issues that we've committed ourselves to. And I think we should do that one more time. Governor Inslee in 2018 actually came to some of our community college labs where they were already engaging in the best practices, new ideas, and training a future workforce. And I have no doubt that that helped me get elected in 2019. So Governor Inslee, thank you for your leadership. All right, so you know the announcement, right? We want states to be the ground zero, I shouldn't say that, but it's meaningful. You have a moment in time where we can make a difference. We can just decide that we aren't going to let the things of the past, which I think Governor Hochul said incredibly well, dictate the future. We're going to do something about it immediately. 1 million apprenticeships engaging both unions, community colleges, and any number of private sector partners creates that kind of immediate workforce that allows us to take, quite frankly, billions, it's hundreds of billions of dollars collectively into both the infrastructure we're going to need for renewable energy jobs and for the innovations it's going to take to continue that effort across the country. So what is New Mexico doing? Well, I'm going to tell you where we are and about my own executive order that we executed today, believe it or not, even though I'm in New York. So one, New Mexico ranks 6th in the U.S. already for job growth in renewable energy jobs, and we're number 1 in the country for energy efficiency job growth in America. And part of that is by making sure that we're providing rebates and incentives right at the marketplace so that consumers matched up with a growing workforce can create the kinds of opportunities we're looking for. The executive order that I signed today, just in short, is we're committing to thousands of apprenticeships right now. And in our last legislative session, January of this year, we actually committed millions of dollars and a trust fund to apprenticeships and work specifically in the space of renewable energy. New Mexico's home to North America's largest wind farm. We're about to eclipse that by building another one. That's before we talk about our solar footprint. And right now, New Mexico also leads the country that just not quite 45%, but closing in every day of all of our electricity is generated by renewable energy in the state of New Mexico, where we're seeing far too many states not even get to double digits. So in a 2 million strong state with the 3rd best sun in the country and a lot of wind, 5th or 6th best for geothermal, and we're also going to really do incredible work with hydrogen because we also have what I like to refer as an ocean underground. So brackish water reserves that allow us to engage in green hydrogen efforts statewide. So there's no wrong door for both these apprenticeships and job training. And I want to just give you 2 more things that I think it can really lead to across the country, this powerful announcement today about what we can all do on the ground. You have these jobs, you have the training tools available, then you can move this agenda nearly as fast, quite frankly, as we need to be moving. But look, New Mexico now has the most robust both free college and apprenticeship training programs in the country, right? So it's free. 2-year, 4-year apprenticeships, trades, private sector, part-time, full-time, anywhere, anytime. We're going to make sure that New Mexico sets the example for making sure that creating a workforce of the future is something that we're completely committed to, including in investing the things that working families and women absolutely need, like universal free childcare. So we're more than halfway there to funding universal free childcare. We're leading the country in universal free early childhood pre-K education, and we've got a moonshot investment in literacy and K through 12, so that you are committing to the long haul. This is the future work that is both incredibly meaningful, does so much better in the context of what your starting wages and career earnings can be, and in a state that's the 2nd largest oil and gas producer. It says a whole lot about how fast you can transition into a clean, renewable energy workforce and situation in your state, proving again that if New Mexico can do it, and we are, there isn't any place around the globe that can't do it. So I'm incredibly proud and honored to be the co-chair. I'm delighted to be participating directly in Climate Week, and I know this announcement is meaningful for every state in our nation. And a big thanks to the Biden-Harris administration, because without the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure, the bipartisan infrastructure law, it doesn't allow us to say and lead by example to other states, every state, you have the resources available to you to initiate and invest in all of it, soup to nuts. So let's get it done this week and every week. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Governor Lujan Grisham. All right, so the third governor of this alliance trifecta is someone who you all know really well by now. Someone who hired me for my first job at the age of 22, but more importantly, someone who had the vision and moxie to launch our coalition more than 7 years ago. We are where we are today, and America's future is a hell of a lot brighter because of this leader. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Governor Inslee.
Thanks, Casey. It's a joy to be with you and my two fellow governors. Listen, they've done a super job. Each one of their states, New Mexico and New York, are tied for second place as the best state in the United States, and in a very close second place in the clean energy transformation. Casey, thanks for your leadership. It's incredible what you've been able to do with this organization. I really appreciate what you've done. My central message is how much I love the Climate Alliance, and I want to share with you why that is. First off, I love being on teams. This is a team, and when you're working with people shoulder to shoulder, and you're moving the needle, and you got a big challenge, and you got a team, there's not a lot better in life to be on a great team. This is a team of governors and states that are moving the needle in a way I'll talk about. But there's two reasons I really love this alliance. One is kind of personal to me, and one is one that I think all of us can share. The part that's personal to me is that, a quarter of a century ago, I had this, what I called a vision that others called a hallucination, that we could build a clean energy economy in the United States and lead the world to a brighter future and help our families and our economy at the same time, and give our children a chance to actually for a meaningful life on this beautiful and very unique planet. And that vision, a quarter century ago was, kind of challenging to espouse. But I really believed it, and I believed it because I thought America was very unique in its ability for entrepreneurs, together with a little bit of policy and some good leadership, could really change the world. And I'd seen this in my state, in the first aerospace company and the first software company really succeed. I'd seen it in my state, and I thought that vision could really come to pass. So I introduced legislation, wrote a book, helped found the U.S. Climate Alliance, and that vision is now a reality. Verily, it has come to pass. I didn't make a single buck off this deal, so I was a little disappointed in that part of it. But it's been very gratifying to see that this is actually now a reality. And what was a pipe dream a quarter of a century now is being realized in each one of our states. When you put a little policy together with brilliant entrepreneurs and really skilled people in layer, you can create a new economy. So from a personal way, I'm very vindicated by this. I feel good about it. But there's something we can all share. And that is the experience that I've had on so many different occasions in the last couple of 3 years, maybe 5 or 6 years. And just one story. I went to Zero Avia. Zero Avia is the company that had the very first hydrogen-powered commercial-sized airplane flight in world history. Took off from Grant County Airport in Moses Lake, Washington a couple of years ago. And I went up and was looking at their plant. This is a hydrogen-powered airplane. It's an old Dash 8. Horizon flies them a lot. And met this young woman, and I asked her what she's doing. She says, well, I'm building hydrogen-powered airplanes. And I go, what part? And he says, well, I'm going to become a manufacturing tech person. I said, what experience do you have? She said, well, I'm a high school graduate, and I want to build hydrogen-powered airplanes. And now this company has given me a chance through kind of an apprenticeship program to learn the skills to do that. And here's what was joyous to me. I asked her how she felt about it. And she had this smile that just went like from here to here. And just to see that, to see a young person who can see their dreams being realized in an apprenticeship program that's happening to change the world, there's just nothing more exciting about that. And all of you governors have had the same experience times 3. And that has happened because of a great coalition. First in the U.S. Climate Alliance and second in the federal government. I was at a company called Group 14. Group 14 is carbon or silicon, and basically they've developed a way to make a silicon anode battery. They're also now in Moses Lake, Washington. I went to saw the plant under construction. I remember looking at this iron worker. He was standing up. It's about a 6-story building. They have the silicone go down through the manufacturing process. And he was standing with 1 foot on a girder that was still suspended by a cable, the thing swaying in the wind, and he had 1 foot on the superstructure, and this guy's putting together this building that's going to give us an additional 30% capacity and range of our electric vehicles. Think about that. And so when I talked to those guys, they just said, look, it's wonderful that we're going to give the world a future, but I like this job. Because in Grant County, Washington, we used to grow sugar beets. And we took the sun and we turned it into sugar. Now we're taking the sun and turning it into electric vehicle, additional 30% range. And I want to thank Ali Zaidi and President Biden and Vice President Harris for the next $200 million they put in that company that happened 2 days ago. Thank them, please, for the work that they have done. So the Climate Alliance is moving the needle. Last year, we said we're going to put in 20 million heat pumps by 2030. Guess what? We are ahead of the pace to get that job done. This was last year. Look what we're doing this year. We're going to be ahead of the pace. We're going to be ahead of the pace to get these apprenticeship programs. And I'm proud, frankly, we're in the right side of history. Now, alluding to New York, just for a moment, and don't take my comments as partisan, but there was a guy from New York who made his chops firing people, right? He thought the word apprentice was a vice, and he got really excited firing people. We think apprenticeships is a virtue. We get joy in hiring people, and that's what we're going to do across the U.S. Climate Alliance. And when we do this, and I may note, we're not just blowing smoke here, okay? The 24 stars on this flag, their economic performance has outpaced those stars that aren't quite yet, haven't got the memo. We're 60% of the U.S. economy. We've got a greater GDP and job growth than the other states that haven't quite got the memo, and we're going to hopefully build and hope that they will follow us. So I want to thank everybody involved in this effort. Let's keep this ball rolling. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Governor Inslee. All right, and you're the tallest person by far, so I'm going to move this down. I started today's event by comparing the folks in this room to superheroes, and it's appropriate because it took a lot of heavy lifting to get here. It was the Biden-Harris administration, after all, that made this climate and clean energy boom possible, delivering the largest investment in climate action in history. And there has been no better partner in the White House than our next speaker. Please help me welcome National Climate Advisor Ali Zaidi.
It is just outstanding to be here, and really so much gratitude, Casey, to you. The Governor Inslee was talking about the incredible contributions of the Alliance. I think of the Alliance as where we go when we stumble upon the hardest problems, the stuff that's so difficult for us to sort out in Washington. We turn to the Alliance and we figure out a way forward with a team that has proven time and time again that they can put points on the board. So I'm so grateful for your leadership, for your partnership, and for the capacity of the Alliance to deliver again and again, whether it comes to the industrial sector where we've teamed up, the building sector where we've teamed up, and now in the essential task in delivering on climate progress, and that is training up the workforce we're going to need to build the clean energy future. So round of applause for you. Folks, these three governors, and I liked Casey referred to them as a trifecta. Trifectas deliver. These three governors, that's a Washington joke, but a nonpartisan one. These three governors have really demonstrated, I think, the theory of the case, the new formula for climate action that the Biden-Harris administration has tried to carry forward in all 50 states. And the formula is pretty simple. Rather than focus on loss, on sacrifice, on squeezing, let's focus on the opportunity, on growing, on investing in our manufacturing and in our infrastructure, and investing in our middle class. And you see it all across the 50 states, but under these three governors' leadership in their states in particular. Governor Inslee talked about Moses Lake. What they're doing there is incredible, but if you rewind a decade ago, they were still reeling from industrial decline, and it's a story that's so common in factory towns all across the country, where trade policies passed, and frankly, a failure to invest in America led to not only job loss, but a loss of a sense of community pride, a sense of place, of purpose. And what we're bringing back in communities like Moses Lake all around the country, thanks to the blueprint forged in places like Washington State, is not only an investment in jobs, but in a sense of purpose, in a sense of pride. I was just in Dalton, Georgia, where I met a bunch of folks who used to work in the carpet industry and the flooring industry, making sofas. Now they're manufacturing solar, by the way, using wafer that's being produced in Moses Lake. It's a good team sport, the solar industry. And one of the most remarkable things stuck with me these last 2 weeks since I've been there is when you go through the entryway of the factory in Dalton, Georgia, they have these pictures that are drawn in crayon or color pencil from the kids who are the kids of the workers in that facility. And if you look at them, to the last one, it's these kids drawing what they see their parents doing. And it's not just forging a solar panel, it's forging a future that's better for them. One of the kids had drawn their parent as a superhero that was saving the planet and manufacturing solar. And that's the sense of pride I hope that we can bring to every single person who's involved in this absolute and profound transformation. I went to Belen, New Mexico with the president, and the governor was there, and you remember Solo cups? They used to make them at this factory. Now they're manufacturing wind turbines. Absolutely profound transformation. A shuttered plant reopened now to meet the climate moment. And, you know, we talk so often about the impact on Main Street. When I was flying in with the president, I was Googling to see when would these jobs actually start to show up. The company had hosted a job fair on Main Street in Belen the week we showed up. These jobs aren't jobs in the future. They're jobs that are being created right now. They're being created right now. And if you look at the analysis, and this is so exciting, 250,000 energy jobs created last year under the Biden-Harris administration, clean energy jobs growing twice as fast, and perhaps the most exciting thing, at least from my perspective, clean energy jobs with twice the level of union density of the rest of the private sector. We are showing that we don't just need to create positions to be filled to manufacture and install the clean energy future. We are going to create careers that support a reinvigorated and a rebuilt American middle class. That's the promise of this moment. And look, it's fitting that we do this event in the House of Labor and in New York, where folks have looked at the clean energy revolution take place across the country. And for a really long time, to the chagrin of the manufacturing unions, the building trades have been the tip of the spear in the transformation, right? So you've got your laborers, your electricians on the front lines of deploying this technology. Technology, by the way, that was invented in the United States and for a really long time had not been manufactured in the United States. Not only are we bringing those manufacturing jobs back under the Biden-Harris administration, there are folks, including the people in this room, fighting to make sure those are good-paying jobs. Here in New York, the steel workers teamed up with a company, Convalt, to make sure solar manufacturing is union manufacturing. And for those who think union manufacturing is just for states that are in the north, the UAW, also upstairs here, has proved that you can build union batteries in Tennessee just as good as you can build union batteries in Ohio. The reality is this, and I think we're seeing a consensus build around this, that union density and economic competitiveness fly together in the clean energy economy. That's absolutely the case. And today we have a chance to turbocharge that transformation. It's interesting, Governor Hochul talked about the AI revolution, and there's a lot of hand-wringing going on about whether we can produce enough energy to meet the AI revolution. Let me be clear, in the United States of America, we will produce enough clean energy to power AI, to power a manufacturing renaissance, to power the American climate comeback story that's playing out in manufacturing towns all across the country. We have the ability to do it, but here's an interesting thing. So we got all these AI CEOs around the table at the Roosevelt Room just a few weeks ago at the White House. And, you know, you'd think they raise their hand, they say transmission, and they did. And you think they raise their hand, they say permitting and siting, and they did. And you think they raise their hand, we have a conversation about chips, we did. But here was the loud consensus in the room. We need electricians. We need laborers. And we want to partner with the hundreds and hundreds of job centers around the country that are training these folks up. Today's announcement answers that call, whether it's for U.S. dominance in AI or it's for U.S. leadership on climate. The way we accomplish it is by leaning into the unions that have helped build the American middle class and built our competitiveness for decades. They are our ticket to winning the future, and that's what we're doing today. Not 1 million folks into apprenticeships by 2035, 1 million folks graduated from apprenticeships in 2035. That's what we're going to get done. So Governor Inslee, when he goes around the world, talks about the supranationals' contribution to the climate conversation. That is the subnationals in the UN parlance. It's because these superheroes are showing up in a big way. One of the things that's hanging out here in New York is a conversation about the durability of the climate transformation that we've seen in the United States. The scoreboard's pretty clear, right? We've got 100 gigawatts of clean energy, 25 million homes worth of energy that we've deployed in just the last 3.5 years, $900 billion of private capital investment. But where do we go from here? In the House, Republicans have put up 50 votes to try to roll back parts of this agenda. They failed. But here's what I say to them. Look at these governors. Look at what's going on the ground. The politics of climate inaction are ineffective and they are deteriorating. Those 50 votes failed, and 18 members of the House Republicans wrote to their own leadership saying, hey, let's quit. Let's give up on trying to roll this stuff back. And the reality is this. We've got the politics alloyed by the economics to produce the most durable transformation I think we've ever seen in our economy. These governors get it. They have helped build the strength into this transformation, and it will be durable. We will keep charging forward, and we will accelerate because we are traveling not just to chase down greenhouse gas emissions, we're traveling to unlock an American dream where the middle class is rebuilt and America is on the frontier of manufacturing, innovating, and building the technologies we need to meet the moment. Thanks so much, Casey.